We also help help angel groups find members. We help VC funds find limited partners, and we help high net worth start family offices as they invest in emerging managers. So we form capital for the early stage startup at a higher level. So we go to the next slide. So what we do for startups is we help them get the deck ready, get the presentation ready, and then we also make introductions to key investors. We fill out applications for angel groups, and we do many other things to help them gain access to it. There's just a lot of work that goes into fundraising, and we're offloading some of that back office work for them in doing this. The new thing that we're getting into is we're starting to build due diligence reports. We're using AI tools to help scan the data room and find and help analyze it for investors to use to create the diligence reports, giving them content to work with, speeds up the process a great deal. We've already started doing these, and we're also having a lot of fun with it as well, because you can do a lot of analysis with it that can be very helpful. So today we're in our syndicate event. As you see up there, the Life Science Syndicate is a monthly event we do with our life science deals and others. We also have a family office roundtable event, which is a program for those who are starting or running a family office. It's a 2-hour event each month where we have speakers and topics that are relevant to the family office. And we also do a virtual quick pitch, which we'll do next week, and it's for mostly our tech deals. And it's a way to have them give a pitch. Everyone gets 10 minutes to pitch, 5 minutes Q&A. We have investors on the panel here and investors in the audience. We'll usually have time for questions from the audience through the chat box for these things. And we started a fourth event recently called the Investor Education Session. We ran one yesterday where we go through a topic relevant to investors. Yesterday we talked about the role of the lead investor, and then we had a few pitches as well. So if you want to learn more about our events, go to tencapital.group and click on the events page, and you'll see all the events coming up, and you can register online there. If you are raising funding, go ahead and take a picture of that QR code and fill out the form and send it to us, and we'll have a discussion about if this is a good fit for your fundraise or not and how we can help. So if we go to the next slide. We also have taken our programming. We do an Investor Tech podcast program. We've interviewed over 850 startup investors, angel, VC, family offices on what they invest and how they invest in startups. It's a great way to learn. And then we also write a Startup Funding Espresso program, which is a 300-word micro blog post, 1-minute audio that we publish every day. And we've done over 2,000 of these, and we've gathered them all into a chat bot for using AI tools. So all you have to do is ask your question, and it gives you an answer by scanning all 2,000 of those espressos. So let's learn more about Ava as we get more people coming in. Are you looking to transform your investment strategy with new cutting-edge AI? Let me introduce our newest addition to the TEN Capital team, Ava, your personal AI venture assistant.
Hi there. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Ava, your personal AI venture assistant. I'm your new best friend in the world of investing in startups, the TEN Capital AI chatbot. I'm here to make your journey through the startup ecosystem easier, faster, and a lot more fun. Need help finding your next big investment? Or maybe you're a founder looking for fundraising tips? I've got you covered. I pull all my knowledge from over 500 blogs, countless podcasts, and even some nifty calculators, like the How Fundable Is Your Startup tool, to give you the answers you need. So how do I work? Easy. You simply go to where I live on startupfundingespresso.com and look for me in the bottom right. As soon as I appear, go ahead and click on me to let me know you're here. And then there you go. All your questions answered at your fingertips. Whether you're into health tech, biotech, life sciences, or any of the other exciting fields out there, I'm equipped to help you navigate the trends, challenges, and opportunities in each one. Got a question? Just ask. And guess what? I even pull insights from the TEN Capital Network podcast on Investor Connect. It's packed with expert advice, success stories, and more, all designed to help you succeed in the venture capital world. So what are you waiting for? Let's chat. I'm here 24/7 to help you find the right answers, connect with great opportunities, and make the most out of your investments. See you on startupfundingespresso.com.
Great. So joining me on the investor panel today is Rajiv Jain, an angel investor here in Austin. Rajiv, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your work?
Yeah, I'm an individual investor based in Austin. I do have some associates that we discuss some deals with, but essentially it's a uncluttered individual operation. Um, and I'm focused more on early stage, seed stage investments. But of course, being an individual, I'm not set by any particular policy, quite flexible in terms of what we're looking at.
Great. Well, thanks for joining us. And so for those in the audience, if you would like to go and post your questions in the chat box as they speak, each company will have 10 minutes to pitch and 5 minutes for Q&A at the end. And then we'll have breakout rooms at the very end for you to visit for those who are interested in. With that, let's go and bring our first presenter up, Barry Fell of Cranial Devices. Barry, if you can launch your slides and kick off when you're ready, we'll get going.
All right. Oh, I forgot that one key thing about sharing. Okay, hang on one second. Okay, it sort of disappeared from me here for a second. We know it all worked a moment ago. Okay, well, let's try it this way. Okay, can we see this okay?
No, it's coming up now. Yes, we can see it. Go ahead.
Okay, all right, sorry about that. Okay, so cranial devices. I've been in the medical device area for, well, since the mid-1990s. This is my latest adventure, though. I did start working on this problem back in 2016, started the company at the end of 2020. So what we are doing is solving a very difficult, challenging disease called hydrocephalus. Common name for it would be water on the brain, excess water in the brain. But basically what we're doing is treating high intracranial pressures by draining off CSF. The market opportunity, I'm going to start with this because in the startup world, which I've been in many times before, nobody believes these numbers, but there is really a $6 million emerging worldwide opportunity for this. And we have one competitor in this area, and they have already raised $122 million for their effort. So this market that I'm talking about is idiopathic normal pressure hydrocephalus. This is a segment of the hydrocephalus market. The current market for all forms of hydrocephalus in the US is about $200 million. Okay, so what I'm suggesting here is that we have a very, very large underserved population. This, in the US right now, there's about 700,000 plus patients in the US diagnosed with NPH. These people tend to be over the age of 65. Disease doesn't kill you, but it does put you in an Alzheimer's unit eventually. There is a treatment for it, which is shunting, which is the draining of the fluid, which shows an immediate benefit to the NPH patients. But the current treatment, which I'll show you in a moment, has a failure rate of about 50% in the first 6 months. So that means that in the US, only about 1% of these patients are being treated with a shunt, even though shunts do work. The symptoms are dementia, gait instability, and incontinence. The moment you have the shunt connected, the gait instability goes away, and over the period of about 2 to 3 months, the dementia goes away. So it's the only form of dementia treatment that actually works. Okay, so this is what people are getting today. It's a long 2 foot, 3 foot long rubber tube connected to the ventricle in your brain, which is sort of a reservoir for the CSF. In a given year, the first year of getting one of these things, you have about a 70%, up to a 70% failure rate or reoperation rate. Patients, it's a lifelong disease. So remember I told you there's other forms of hydrocephalus too, but on average, you'll get about 10 surgeries in your lifetime. The cost of readmission for shunt surgery is about $1 billion to the US economy. And as I said, it's a lifetime disease. Our solution is something called a physiologic drain. So we are draining the CSF directly back into the sagittal sinus, which is a precursor to our venous system, which is how Mother Nature does it now. What was being done before, what is being done today, I should say, is not physiologic because you're draining that fluid down to your abdomen. Our implant will work for ages 5 and over. There's no pressure valves to fail. And compared to our competitor, we are simpler, faster, safer, much less invasive, and it's a 15-minute procedure. And we have a robust IP portfolio. Just had our first allowance about 2 weeks ago. All right, our competitor is Ceravasc. They've raised, as I said, 122 million. You can look at these numbers later on, but you've got Perceptive and Bain Capital backing this company. So this is a real market that I talked about. When we compare us to our competition, theirs is an endovascular shunt, ours is a surgical shunt. In order to do their device, you have to have the endovascular training. Most neurosurgeons do not have that. But the market size is so big that there's going to be a problem deploying their shunt because of the skill set required to do it. It's a complex procedure. Ours is simple. It's a skin incision. Ease of revision, not possible with theirs. Ours, as I said, skin incision. They're on a PMA pathway. We are on a de novo pathway. Reimbursement, we believe we can use the existing codes to reimburse our device. As I said, they've raised 122 million. We've raised 2.3 million to date. There's a lot of inflection points on our pathway to create exit opportunities. Right now, as I said before, in the US, it's about $170 million for the current device market, okay, and about 500 million worldwide. We've got a validated opportunity here for an emerging market. We've got a very experienced, successful team. IP is solid. We're 1 year away from the human pilot study. That'll be an OUS study. We think that it'll be probably less than 36 million from beginning to end by the time we get through FDA and EU. We've got worldwide application for our technology. You do not require high technology to implant our device. And I think the earliest exit point for this would be 2028. This is where we are now. We have completed everything here in this first line. Coming up in the upcoming year is that we'll be doing our GLP animal studies. We'll start the IDE prep. We'll wrap up our V&V, and then our OUS hopefully will start next December. And then you can see what we would use. We need about $2 million to get to that point, and then Series A would begin sometime in the fall. And you can see what our pathway is there. So that's it. I've got a few minutes here. Yes, okay. I'll show you a very, very, very quick video of this, and I'm going to stop it. Period. What we do is we put a rubber tube down into the ventricle, which is what they do today. We burr a very small hole over the sagittal sinus. This is done, neurosurgeons do this kind of surgery every day. This is a preferred way of doing an opening into the skull. We put a guide plate. Once we have exposure to the sinus, we center the guide plate over the desired entry point for our implant. Okay. We screw that in place. We get a depth. That's our implant size. We perforate the dura, and then we put our implant in. We screw it down, we get rid of all the tubing and put it together, and that's it. It's about 15 minutes. All right. So I don't know where I am on the time, but anybody, let me go back to this one other thing. I do need to show you that our implant is right where my mouse is. It's about 2 millimeters in length, and it's 0.4 millimeters in diameter. Extremely small. Okay. So
we see the robust IP portfolio slide is what we see.
Yes, and can you see my mouse to the right?
It's very hard to see.
Let me
move it
zoom
around
that
a little
up for
bit.
you all. How about right there, where you see there's a black arrow coming to the implant? Can you see that or not?
Not really. No. Is it the left, the center, or the right graphic?
How about that? That help? Right here. I'm rolling it. You can see me do that.
And what's the point you're trying to make there?
How small this implant really is.
Okay. I think that comes across. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very tiny. It's about the size of your COVID needle that you got for your, with your immunization.
Okay. Yeah, we didn't get all the slides in on this one,
Oh, I'm
but
sorry. All right.
we
Well,
can go to Q&A if you like and
yeah,
talk about it.
sure. Okay. you
So
go
my
ahead.
first question is, what's the core IP in the core claims of the patents is what I'm asking.
It's all centered around the positioning of the implant over the sinus without harming the sinus.
Oh,
The reason this technique has not been used before, it's been used since the mid-60s, but the sinus is a dangerous part of the brain anatomy to work on because of the volume of blood flowing through it. So it's very, very important that we expose it carefully, we position these guide elements, and that the implant itself is securely secured to the cranium so it can't move.
great.
And then as we
Rajiv,
talked about, for
Go ahead.
revision, this is just below the scalp. So to expose this and remove that implant is a scalpel incision and a screwdriver.
Okay. And Rajiv, what question do you have?
No question at the moment.
Okay. My next question is, what's the earliest exit and what would that look like? Who are you in discussion with that would be interesting on this?
The earliest exit, I believe, would be a strategic partner.
Okay.
Okay.
And are you in discussion with anybody at this point?
Oh, we've had discussions, but everybody wants to see us get through that pilot study.
Okay. And so at the end of the pilot study could be an exit, or is it at some particular trial?
Yes, I think after that pilot study, which would only be somewhere in the order of 5 to 10 patients, the follow-up period on shunting is only is 3 months and 6 months. Because if
Okay.
they don't work immediately.
Okay. And how much are you raising right now?
2 million convertible note.
And what's the valuation cap on that?
There is no valuation cap only unless there's a transaction that occurs, and that's 12 million at the moment.
Okay, so 12 million would be the valuation cap in that case?
Yes, if the company is purchased.
I see. Okay. So you have a 12 million value cap
Right.
on it.
So it's 9%, 20% share discount.
Okay. That sounds good. And so what's the next step for you here as far as what in the use of funds, what would you do next with the
Use of
funding?
funds is that we have, at the end of this month, we have our second animal pilot being done. So we've already done the first animal pilot that demonstrated safety. This next one is efficacy. So it's we're doing 4 animals. We do sheep. These are not, we do not give them hydrocephalus. So this is a significantly more challenging animal model than most people do. But we
Okay.
demonstrate that our implant can work over all flow regimes and pressure differentials.
All right.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say then our next step, we will do the GLP animal study, which is a chronic and acute studies that is targeted to start at the end of May.
All right, good. Well, that's the end of our time. Thanks so much, Barry. Good presentation. If anybody has any questions, please put them in the chat box. But for now, I think we answered them. Let's go to our next presenter, B-Secur. Alan, if you can launch your slides and kick off when you're ready.
There we go, Hall. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can, and we can see the slides.
Can you see
Go
the
and put them in
slide?
presentation mode. Yeah.
Excellent. I'm actually going to keep it in this mode if you don't mind. Just we're having problems in the background here when I was testing it before, but hopefully you can see my screen. And happy for me to kick off, Hall?
Go ahead.
Good. Nice to meet you all. I'm dialing in from Ireland today, whatever it is with you, and most pleased to meet you. We are an Irish UK company that actually now is operating in the US and has been for about 2.5 years. And we're in the model of transforming healthcare in around ECG and heart. Let me tell you a little bit about the company. First of all, my background, I was 20 years Accenture. I ran Accenture Life Sciences in Europe until 10 years ago. I lived a lot of that time in the US, and I was back home in Ireland when discovered a little bit of IP, which was B-Secur, stood for Biometric Security. And we then morphed over the past 9 years into what we are today. And what we are today is a 35 million US dollar invested company. We've got 60 high value scientists, cardiologists, data sciences, and now commercial folk in the US, with our technology headquarters remaining in Ireland. For a very, very good reason, that is a real center of excellence for heart health technology around the world. Notably, we got our first FDA clearance just over 3 years ago, and that was for our first product, and we started to launch into that market. And the reason we're coming to you today is that just over 4 months ago, we got our second FDA clearance on a medical application. I'm going to take you through what that is right now. But we are a SaaS, software as a service technology business, based around deep machine learning and AI functionality, focused around the ECG biomarker, which for anybody on the phone that knows this area knows that it's a very, very hard signal to acquire and an even harder signal to do anything about. Hence why all the major consumer tech companies and all the major medical device companies in the world today have some delivery capability around this area, some better than others. So why are we doing it? Let's remind ourselves, 18 million people die every year of cardiovascular disease, the world's #1 killer. American Heart Association believe 2/3 of that or more are preventable, okay? And that is where we come in. It's a huge economic cost in addition to the personal cost of cardiovascular disease. In the US alone, that is soon to rise within a generation to just under 5% of the overall US GDP, the cost of cardiovascular. This is huge and it's growing. Several studies have only just monetized this in the last 6 months. A study from RTP and more recently a study from the AHA, American Heart Association itself, that has found out that atrial fibrillation, a real sign of stroke, has been underestimated by about 3 times from what it should be. So big, big problem and growing. We should all pay heed. And we took note of this about 10 years ago when we realized the 2 markets that we work in, both the consumer market was going to start to move this way as the likes of Apple, Google, Samsung start to move toward medical. And as the medical device companies, as we see it today, are somewhat wanting in terms of their technology. I'm going to name a few companies, Medtronic and their implantable loop recorders, the Link 2 being 80% market share today. That technology actually resides on 10-year-old platform. If we look at Abbott and what they've got, or Boston Scientific and Preventus Halter monitors, again, it's lacking because it's aging technology, and that's a problem. It's a problem to change and to move the direction of the oil tanker quickly. So we get it, and that's where B-Secur sits. We sit at the center of 2 very large markets that are converging, and we now have FDA clearance. Just to show you how the momentum has grown of our business, you can Google us, you can see our website, but we've had numerous articles, publications, press on B-Secur itself in the last 6 months, starting with that FDA clearance that we most recently got. And in fact, there's a new partnership announcement going out at CES tomorrow, which you will see with a company called Biotricity, a leader in the ambulatory monitoring market. But there's been an awful lot of activity in health, heart health M&A, In the last 2 days, there's been 2 announcements. Fire One took 120 million investment, and Python, one of our customers, actually have just taken a large investment from Samsung. So these things are huge. You'll see names in there you might recognize. Whoop, which I'm wearing today. Aura Ring. Aura have just taken a huge investment from Fidelity and Dexcom. They rang the bell at the stock exchange yesterday to announce some other features of a product launch, and we are helping to design their next generation. So what does our tech do? We have 2 products. HeartKey is the brand. HeartKey Core is our first product. That's generally an on-device product. So you take a Whoop device and you take the silicon chip that's within it. B-Secur software is embedded onto that silicon, okay? And that is moving the Whoop device from an everyday consumer technology to a medical diagnostic technology. Whoop 5.0 will be on your shelves in April, so right upon us, and it's being launched simultaneously to 70 countries worldwide. Okay, current user base 3.5 million users, going up to about 6 million users. We take just under $1 per device shipped, and that's what we're contracted to do. HeartKey Rhythm, we started to design this 2 years ago and received FDA clearance just recently, focused primarily on cloud-based software that sits on top of existing medical devices. And that's the beauty of this. Medical device providers today do not need to get new FDA clearance. They can implement it almost instantaneously onto their live environment and are doing so already. We only launched this product in September, and we have a pipeline of over 30 customers, which I'm going to show you. We're not a startup. We're an advanced business now. We're commercializing, and the reason I'm speaking to you today is I want to do a quick round. I want to reach out to the US market that I don't know, but Hall certainly does, and has been kind enough to introduce me to you guys. And we've got a lot riding on this. Simply put, what do? We take noisy ECG signals that come from devices all over this planet, and a lot of them built in the US. And that's a problem for our cardiologists. It takes them about 4 hours to go through a typical patient read to figure out what the problem is, what the solution is, what the diagnosis is. You apply our software over the top and get a really clean signal. And this is using AI and advanced machine learning that has now been approved by the FDA. It's not just percentage gain, it's significant improvement on the clarity of the signal. It's transformative for the industry. And we've been putting a lot of papers out there in the various journal paper and rounds that you guys do, mainly in the US, because we have decided to focus all in the US. So our markets are consumer and medical. We've got just over 60 staff, so we're not huge. So we focus on smartwatch, smart ring, smart clothing. We've got a team over at CES right now, and we've actually signed a deal this morning that will be announced at CES tomorrow. On the medical side, we're focused on the ambulatory side, which is all about a set of companies I'm going to show you in just a second. But we also have a solution to work on ILR, implantable loop recorder, Medtronic, the remote patient monitoring, hospital telemetry work. We've got a couple of customers in pipeline there, and CIED, which is another big area that we'll go after when we have the capacity to do so. So take our current ambulatory market, Philips Biotel, iRhythm, and Boston Scientific, owned by, who own a company called Preventus, are the 3 market leaders by a far way. Everyone you see on this list is one of our customers today at various stages of evaluation or fully contracted already. And it's a huge market. So as one of our customers put it, we are the Intel inside of the biosensing market. You may never hear our name again, but we're the software that's powering all these technologies as they come into the new generation. As the medical market tries to get to volume customer, and as the consumer market tries to get to the high value reimbursement codes that the medical market owns today. So we did 1.4 million revenue in 2024. We're projected to do 8.1 this year. Actually, we've got 3.5 million of that already booked, and about another 3 million contracted, 2 million yet to be contracted, but it's a great shape in the first week of January. And a lot of this is why our hockey stick is just beginning. Some of our investors, two major investors, First Capital Ventures from Denver and Orlando Health Ventures from Florida, a major hospital provider, both put in 10 million in the last 2 years each. There's a good reason for that. They believe we can go further than this. And in our good old British way, we're quite conservative, but this is a model I'm showing you now, which shows a revenue model of 20 million this year. That depends on us getting one of the top 3 of those ambulatory customers over the line. And I can tell you now, we're in contracting with 2 of them, and we don't guarantee anything, but I would expect we'll get one of them within Q1. So we're on a high plane trajectory. I won't bore you with this slide. You have these to share, but the summary is I've asked our board to invest and raise another 12 million capital to break even this year and allow me to focus on the business of commercialization. We are on track to do that, but to do that, I need to put investment in quickly. I don't want to run a VC round for 6 to 9 months, although I am talking to VCs. I'm meeting some of them at JP Morgan Health Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of next week to continue our process. But we've already put in 4.5 million in the last 2 months from existing shareholders on the cap table. I'm inviting private investors, including yourselves, to put forward investment monies. We will give the same terms that Orlando Health gave to us and offered us just over a year ago. That's the kicker for doing this quickly. So for those who can close this quarter, small checks, anything circa 500,000 up to 5 million is our target. We will take syndicates, and we're looking to do it quickly. So in summary, we've got a big mission. We're out there to put reactive, to move the healthcare model from reactive to preventative healthcare, continuous monitoring, put ECG out there to everyone on the planet, because it's the biggest problem in healthcare today. And in fact, by putting the software in all these devices, we believe reasonably quickly we can reach everyone on this planet. So we have a huge market and uplift. Our exitability is strong. I've employed an investment bank. This is off the back of 2 years ago, an offer for acquisition was made by Google, which we rejected because we were just starting our foray into medical. So we know we have an exit opportunity. So I welcome you to join that journey. Today, tomorrow, JP Morgan next week, our team at CAS today and tomorrow, whatever you want, please make contact, and I welcome any questions you have right now. Thank you.
Great presentation. One of the questions from the audience is, please repeat your minimum check size for angel investors.
Yeah, actually, we say when we're coming talking to you guys, circa $500,000. We will do checks as smaller than that. One of our existing investors put in just last Friday $100,000. So I will consider whatever checks you wish to do. The larger the better, but you will get no difference treatment in terms, large or small. I will welcome smaller checks than 500,000 whole. Okay. Great.
And what is the core moat you have around the business? What prevents other people from doing what you're doing in a reasonable amount of time?
Well, 2 things. We have a fairly robust IP and patent network run by Murgatroyd, which is an international patent firm. They've been looking after us for years. Ultimately, my view of the world, like you see with Apple watches and then Samsung devices or anything, is eventually all technology will be probably put to test by someone else out there in the world. Time is on our side. If Apple are to try and build what we have just got approved, it'll take them from a standing start 2.5 years from now. And the reason for that is we had to collect significant new clinical data and put it through the FDA process to gain our clearance. So Apple cannot do that overnight. They cannot buy that, even with the deepest pockets they have. That's why Google tried an acquisition move 2 years ago. So it's a speed to market. We have an ECG technology today, but we've also got a pipeline, a roadmap of other technologies. We've got a new one that's just starting its FDA clearance in the middle of this year. And that again will take the world to a new place. So you will see all sorts of devices moving towards ECG today. But the medical device markets are really having to up their game on innovation. The only way they can do it is to buy our software.
Great.
Okay.
And Rajiv, what's your question?
I was struck by the $1 per device shipped that you charge. Is that, I mean, I'm guessing that's a very small fraction of the total, price or cost there. Is that you don't have pricing power there, or have you given that up in order to get to scale quickly?
Yeah, two routes on the business plan. Great question, actually. And the first time round, when our technology was only embedded as software onto the physical device, we have a license and royalty approach. I'm going to give you a real example. Whoop, as one of our customers, we get paid a monthly recurring license fee right now. That's before they go live in April. And from April, then we get a per device royalty. The negotiable point, it's all volume based, but when you round it out at about 5 million units, you average out at about 82 cents on the device, okay? That was purely for Whoop. We have some customers, there's a really great company called Fourth Frontier who just got their own FDA clearance in November off the back of our software, and we're charging them $8 per device. So it's a volume play typically on the royalty model. However, our new product is SaaS based. So when Biometric, who compete against Boston Scientific and iRhythm in the market, when they deploy, we get about 10 to 12 cents on the transaction, which is accumulated on a monthly basis and paid to us. So it's instantaneous as a software play. Now we've got multiple models within there. It's all played back to reimbursement codes that people like Boston Scientific have to bring to the fore on that. But ultimately, we've got a volume play to play on. I think our new SaaS model is much more effective and speedy for our ramp up than the royalty model ultimately. Okay, Rajiv?
I have one related question. Do we have time for that?
Yes, let's make it quick, but yes.
So you present in your deck that you have two markets, consumer and medical. And the way I'm looking at it is that you really are a B2B for the consumer market. So you're not really marketing to the consumer. So it's essentially both your customer bases are enterprise customers, right?
That's absolutely correct. Our customers are the chief medical officer in Whoop, B2B play, the chief medical officer actually in Google. Samsung is one of our customers. And then on the medical side, exactly the same. iRhythm, Boston Scientific, Preventus, Philips, Biotel, Biometric, they are our customers. It's not the end patient, it's not the end consumer, it's B2B play. And actually that's how we scale quite quickly. That was my background in Accenture, so we've used the same model basically to roll out at scale. Okay?
Sounds good. Thanks.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, guys. We're out of time for now, but thanks so much, Alan, for a great presentation. Thanks, Rajiv, for your questions. With that, we'll move to our next presenter, Colin of SleepScore. Colin?
Good afternoon, everybody, and hey, pleased to meet you, Alan. There's two Irish people on the call today. And actually, I'm also dialing in from CES. Look, first of all, thank you for your time, everybody. And we're here today to talk about sleep. Now, of course, there's a huge overlap between sleep and heart health and pretty much every aspect of your health. And our focus or our mission as a company is to supercharge better outcomes by enabling the companies that reach the consumer with transformative sleep AI technology. And a little bit more about the company. We are a B2B2C company also. We're the sleep
Did you
AI.
want to use slides or no?
Oh, I apologize. I thought I'd already shared. I apologize. 1 microsecond.
It seemed like you were doing the introductory part, but I just wanted to make sure we were syncing.
Yeah,
in.
I am so sorry. Okay, there we go. Hopefully that's working a bit better.
We see it now. Go ahead.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so we're a B2B2C company, and we essentially provide the sleep and AI technology that other companies use to deliver better sleep outcomes to their consumers. In terms of our company, we're already at revenue. So our run rate as of Q4 2024 hit 5.5 million, which means that as a business, we're actually already EBITDA positive. Originally, we were spun out of ResMed, and now our product and service is loved by a whole host and a growing list of companies, which range from obvious ones like Mattress Firm in the sleep business, but you might not have thought about Therabody in the fitness business, or IFF in consumer products ingredients, or L'Oreal in cosmetics, and many more coming in the health and wellness space that we'll talk about in a few minutes. The reason for this is because not only does sleep drive better outcomes in every area of health, but today the consumer or the patient is aware of sleep as their number one health problem. So sleep now is overtaking every other consumer search topic on Google globally. It's the number one priority for consumers. Consumers are spending $1.6 trillion out of pocket on health and wellness solutions, and for them, sleep is their number one priority. So the companies that serve those consumers in that vast growing market, they need the expertise, they need the data, they need the insights, they need the intelligence to drive their products and solutions, and that's where we come in. And how we do that is through the sleep.ai platform. And the best way to think about it, and in some ways parallel to the previous presentation from Alan, what we are doing is liberating vast amounts of sleep data that already exists on on everybody's smart devices. So how we do that is we pull in the data through our software from all of those devices, but because we have gold standard data of our own, which we developed originally inside ResMed, we're in a position to understand the relative strengths and weaknesses of the data, regardless of where it comes from. So our data set today is now significantly in excess of 600 million hours of such data, coming from more than 500 plus devices. And that enabled us to build AI models to normalize the data, and then to build the predictive models for the pieces of data which are missing from many of the consumer grade wearables. And because we sorted out the data and we're scaling up that data and those models, that enables us to drive transformative insights, which are evidence-backed, which are not exposed to the risk of hallucinations, because everything that we do in terms of then taking that data and answering the question, so what should I as a person do to improve my sleep, is grounded in the science. And we have 61 peer-reviewed papers and abstracts behind us. A further dozen we expect to be accepted for publication in the next number of weeks. And we have completed more than 235 studies on sleep interventions. So all of that is feeding Sleep AI, how people sleep, but also what works for whom. And that is what enables us to deliver transformative outcomes. So an example of those outcomes is supported by a randomized controlled trial that was completed just last year. And just for reference, the sleep.ai platform is now fully reimbursed in the Federal Republic of Germany. So there, every citizen in the country is entitled to use the sleep.ai based service, and their health insurer must pay for it by law without the need for a doctor's prescription. So clearly, sleep is a huge issue. It's the biggest market of all, if you think about it, because everybody on the planet sleeps, and 60% of people don't sleep well. And then sleep.ai has many, many potential use cases. The obvious ones around sleep disorder screening and so forth, you probably already get. But better sleep to drive longevity, better sleep to support pharmaceutical compliance, better sleep to drive better outcomes from therapeutic interventions. A whole host of medical fields are examples of areas where the sleep.ai can be used, but we're not here to boil the ocean. So we've decided to focus very tightly on 3 core areas. The first one is putting sleep.ai into health and wellness apps. Think about mindfulness apps. Think about apps dealing with supporting people who are trying to manage blood sugar, fertility, mental health, etc. In all of those cases, you cannot achieve better outcomes without better sleep. But those companies who have those consumers, they don't know what to do with the data that's there on those consumers' phones. They don't know how to use it. They don't have the evidence behind it. So we provide that in the form of a SaaS model to enable them to achieve better outcomes in their business. Reimbursed programs, as I mentioned in Germany, that alone is a significant market. But right now, right across Europe, there's a significant move towards preventative health investment. And we expect France and several other European countries to follow in the next 1 to 2 years. But we also use sleep.ai to help companies drive R&D and innovation in the space. So those companies use our sleep.ai platform to collect data on the efficacy of their products to enable them to screen new ingredients, new components as they're building out new solutions. So essentially, we're focusing on those 3 core areas first. That's already a very, very substantial market with more than a $2.5 billion TAM. From a competitive point of view, we've got a really, really strong competitive position. And I'm not going to take you through every column and row on this chart, but I just did want to highlight something because people often ask us, are wearable companies like Aura or Fitbit or Apple Watch competitors? And the answer in short is no, they're not. They are sources of data. They are collaborators. We know what to do with that data. We know how to normalize it. We know how to plug in the gaps. But essentially, the way we see the world is that if you are in mental health or blood sugar control or employee benefits, et cetera, you're not going to force and pay for your users to switch to a specific wearable. Really, what you need is a solution that can take the data from any wearable or indeed from the phone itself. And so we're Switzerland in that sense. We want to take the data, we are taking the data, and therefore we can scale the model by making it easier for other companies to access it, liberate it, and use it to deliver better outcomes. And we can obviously go into more detail about that a little later. From a team point of view, we have a very unique group of people. I myself started with an Irish startup called Biancamed, which we then sold to ResMed in 2011. ResMed, as you probably know, is a global leader in sleep medical devices, market cap approximately $35 billion today. And my COO, Gil Adato, he had originally a software background, but then spent many years working at Samsung and in the last 4 years before joining our company at Philips, which is the #2 sleep medical devices in the world. In addition to that, we have a core team of data scientists, sleep scientists, researchers, and engineers that enables us to build this solution and scale it. So where we are at the moment, as I mentioned, is we've got a $5.5 million run rate. Our goal, and we're on track already, there are 2 major announcements that have been done at CES so far this week, one with a company called AlphaBeats in the mental health for performance space, another with Panasonic. We're now sleep partners with Panasonic on their Panasonic Well platform. There are, of course, a number of others which we'll be making next week at JP Morgan. All of that helps us to continue to drive and grow the revenue line. In our business, because it's a software SaaS model and so forth, the margin structures are very positive. So what that means is the flywheel is key here, because every partnership we do enables us to communicate and explain to more B2B customers the intel inside, as it were, of sleep in terms of sleep. But the other side of the same flywheel is the data. So every deal we do, every study we do brings in more data, and that further fires our AI models. So we are actually raising a $3 million note to drive us through inflection point. The good news and the bad news for this call is we're almost oversubscribed at this point. In fact, as of this morning, there's not very much left in the round. So we're going to keep it open for another few weeks. The terms are pretty strong. We're offering a 25% discount, a $26 million cap, and it's, as I mentioned, a convertible note. This is more than enough funding for us to drive all the way through the growth phase. And we will, at a later point, maybe do a priced round in order to convert the notes, but there is no pressure on the company to do so because we're already cash generating. So the exits in the space are already very strong. And in terms of potential exit partners, well, we have two of them already inside the company as investors, one being ResMed, which is obviously very obvious, the other being Mattress Firm, which is also an investor and a strategic partner, and that's also, I guess, obvious. But there are others, and our goal is to continue to grow and to get this company to a $500 million to $1 billion valuation in the next 2 to 3 years. And that's well possible and right in front of us. So I'll pause there and answer any questions.
Great presentation, Colin. My first question is, what's the core moat around this business? What keeps other people from doing what you've done?
Yeah, no worries. Well, the first part is the data, because data is expensive to collect. So proprietary first-party data, which has not only data from wearables, but also a gold standard, which we originally built inside ResMed, which enables us to assess that data. So that part is difficult and expensive to replicate. The second part of it is the R&D and interventions data, because in order to catch up with where we are, whoever wants to do this would have to complete 235 separate sleep intervention studies. That's going to take people 3, 4, 5 years and $30, $40, $50 million. So those are at the core of it, but also around that we have built a suite of IP, and we currently have 4 patents pending.
Great. And Rajiv, what's your question?
No question at the moment.
Right. And so what's the exit strategy here? I mean, who are you in discussion with that would actually buy you?
Well, as I mentioned, we've got 2 investors at the table who could very conceivably be interested in buying us. But actually, I think because ultimately this is a data play, we've scaled the data. We expect to significantly scale it further, particularly in the next 12 months as we roll out in both Germany and with more and more SaaS partnerships. Any number of players, which may range from Google all the way through to Amazon, could have a very significant strategic interest in the data and what we do with it and the AI models that we built around it.
So you have the entire country of Germany able to use your product by law, which is a really great place to be. What other countries in Europe are considering following suit, doing the same thing?
Yeah, the European Union health ministers have basically agreed to adopt directionally the German approach to preventative health investment. And as a consequence, each country is now running through its own legislative process. We expect France to be the next within about 12 or so months. As usual inside the European Union over time, that will continue to roll. I do think that's important to say there's also a change in the philosophy coming here in the United States. My co-founding investor at the very, very beginning of SleepScore Labs was Dr. Oz. The only reason why I mentioned that is that as a person, he is highly committed to preventative health. I mean, we all know that the system cannot deal with sick care any longer as the only strategy. So therefore, investment in preventative health is critical, and sleep is a massive driver of better outcomes across the spectrum. So we actually think that the tailwinds are behind us now, because not only is that legislative framework up and running in Germany, it's following in Europe, but I also think it's going to happen here way faster than anybody might have anticipated as little as a year ago.
Just to be clear, there's no FDA regulatory on your deal at this point.
No, there is no requirement. In fact, we have this. We do screen for sleep disorders, but we don't treat those disorders or formally diagnose them. Our system then essentially connects those people to the appropriate treatment pathway. So our strategy is to have the data about how people sleep at a much, much larger level and direct people to the appropriate intervention, whether that's clinical or subclinical.
We have a question from the audience. What exactly could one do with the data, both personally and medically?
Yeah, so I'll give you well, one example. For example, medically, it's really, really clear that there's a direct relationship between how people sleep and how they control blood sugar. So in a diabetic population, ignoring sleep means unstable, blood sugar is not properly understood. In very often cases, simply understanding that there's a sleep issue underneath that totally changes, number one, the engagement with the patient, but number two, the possibility to drive better outcomes. So that's a medical. On the more consumer side, the answer is it depends. Our system is highly, highly personalized. What that means is we look at how people are sleeping and exactly what are the causes of that, and therefore what is the appropriate intervention. And so there are literally thousands of personalized permutations.
Great. I think we're at the end of our time. Thanks so much for a great presentation, Colin. Thank you guys for asking
Thank
good
you,
questions
everybody.
as well.
Cheers.
With that, we'll move to our next presenter. We have next Biomems. Andrew, you can launch your slides and kick off when ready.
Thanks, Hall. Okay, well, diagnostics industry is moving ever closer to the patient. It's boosting demands for ever more sophisticated tests in the field. So Biomems is pulling high-need, high-complexity diagnostics out of the lab to address unmet needs at point of care, point of need, at home. The current state of the art, unfortunately, is either an expensive toaster-size analyzer that needs a trained tech, results in half an hour to half a day, or you have limited information from things like urine dipsticks, yes or no answers from simple lateral flow devices like a pregnancy or COVID test, and then what to do with the results generated at home or in the field. So Biomems is a end-to-end technology that captures the raw patient sample, processes it, delivers lab quality results that are ported to our smart app in 5 minutes or less. That single-use test cartridge can hold up to 10 different diagnostic tests, more than any other at point of need, and there are hundreds of commercially available tests that can be converted to our platform that could only previously have been performed in a clinical lab. So essentially, if you can operate a smartphone, you can administer this test pretty much anywhere. This is a breakthrough technology. There is no other test platform that can perform at this level outside a lab. By performance, I mean less than 1 part per trillion sensitivity to detect anything, configured to detect anything from a single protein to a single pathogen. So we are the hardware and software that can make slow, complex, expensive lab tests work faster and smarter outside the lab where they're needed most. Now, we not only provide test results to the user, but also simultaneously transmit results to providers and payers. And there's also an opportunity to monetize anonymized data that we pull from our workflow to create additional revenue streams. Now, our key differentiator is the quality and timeliness of the data that we collect. It's a result of the precision and accuracy of the results that we generate. And that's really the core weakness of most digital diagnostics and digital health companies, is the quality of the data itself. And then it's also a matter of how that data is packaged, managed at the user level, the provider payer level, and ultimately how it's monetized. We generate that first party data. So we approach the diagnostics market opportunistically. We develop tests in partnerships with global brands. So as a platform, we're not really tied to any single disease, state, or condition. And initially, we're developing things like healthy aging, infectious disease, and nutritional tests simply because there's non-dilutive funding available from the government, and there are corporate partners that want to enter these verticals. So to validate our marketing traction with global brands, as an example, we've just inked a deal to develop a first-in-market canine, if you can believe it, Alzheimer's urine test for Hills, which is a Colgate-Palmolive subsidiary. So this is real revenue, begins with a sponsored feasibility study that's followed by a couple $1 million product development phase, and then a manufacturing contract with pre-negotiated margins and sales volumes. Now, lest you think that a doggy Alzheimer's test is an interesting sidebar or even some kind of dead end, the data that we collect takes on greater significance when it's applied to humans. So, as it happens, the gene signaling and disease pathways for Alzheimer's in dogs and humans are nearly identical, as are the diagnostics. So, we're getting paid to develop the test for a dog application. Then we generate revenue selling that test, but all the while we're banking this high quality data, which we remap and submit to the FDA to accelerate approvals for the first ever non-invasive human Alzheimer's test without having to change much of anything in the test kit itself. Now, the canine Alzheimer's test can enter the market without FDA approval. So as soon as we're done developing it, it can enter the market. And whatever number we negotiate with Hills for contract manufacturing of a doggy test, you can probably put another 3 zeros behind that number for a human Alzheimer's test. Now, once that test is on its way, we start adding new test products to establish multiple revenue streams. Our gross margins range from 50 to 500%, depending on the selected diagnostic targets. And sell prices for that cartridge range from $10 to $140, and the COGS remain relatively the same. Sales projections that I'm presenting here really aren't market adoption guesses, but rather estimates of contract sales we negotiate with corporate partners in advance. And as for things like reimbursement, CPT codes, and all that, our corporate partners handle that aspect of commercialization. Now, our go-to-market strategy is our business model. We target global brands that make, market, or offer diagnostics as a service. We initially approach them to do studies, collaborations, co-ventures. That drives early revenue for us, but also allows them to test drive our technology with little risk. Some of you, I'm sure, are familiar with the term NRE, and gives them the opportunity to consider a new product program and maybe a potential acquisition. And that is our stated goal. We want to be acquired quickly. There's no need to build a huge organization to commercialize this platform or manufacture it at some vast scale. Those organizations already exist. You just saw their logos. And a potential acquirer really needs to have two questions answered by us. Does it work? And can we produce it in huge volumes at low cost? And then beyond that is the kind of the value proposition, which in our case is the ability to use existing FDA-approved diagnostics already performed in a lab that we convert to point of need and at-home use. And this literally crushes the cost of development, compliance, manufacturing, and outperforms what's available at point of need or at home right now. So we're working to close $2 million in seed funding to engineer and build out demonstrators that configured for our prospective corporate partners. So this $2 million seed round and the expected revenues from projects like the canine Alzheimer's test should provide enough runway to pursue and close additional contracts for other tests with corporate partners. And then that's followed by a $2 million late seed or bridge round to get the pilot manufacturing prove out going, which is when we can put the company in play for acquisition. So we won't start on the Series A until we actually have a private label manufacturing contract in hand, obviously at a much higher valuation. And from this, we can start modeling out exit windows. With the first such window, once we've demonstrated that the entire platform works end to end, and we have little test kits to hand out, and we have a small pilot site to demonstrate the manufacturability before we go out for the Series A. So now we're kind of looking more now at a risk return model. we can get out in less than 24 months with a very good return, or we can get one OTC product to market in 30 months or so at an even better return, or, look at going out another year with multiple products in development and multiple products already in market and look at some very significant returns. The interesting part of this is that the execution risk actually decreases over time, but you do have a time component then to your return. We do have comps, models, case studies, market data to support the returns we're projecting. For example, Quest paid $450 million to acquire Haystack just 23 months after its $10 million seed round was funded by Catalio. That's a very good return. And it's happening because there are so few totally new IVD technologies coming to market and very, very few at point of need or at home that break any new ground. So to get this moving, we're looking to close a $2 million seed round Q1 2025 and fund that end-to-end platform demo. We present the global brands to secure development and contract manufacturing deals. The founders have already placed more than $3 million of their own money in pre-seed funding, and we're able to produce our biosensors, which are at the core of our platform, in lots of 1,000 units at a time right now. So use of proceeds basically is focused on getting those demo units up and running in low quantities within 12 to 14 months, close some co-venture and collaboration contracts that can bring in revenue, and then position us for that $2 million late seed or bridge round to demonstrate the manufacturability side of the equation. Now, we are a little bit ahead of schedule because we've signed a co-development deal with Hills for the canine Alzheimer's test, and we are looking to sign another deal very soon. Now, the development team that makes this all possible, led by Chief Science Officer Michael Puja, he's considered one of the world's top 10 diagnostics innovators with decades of successful product launches at Siemens and Bayer. His protege, Dr. Zane Baird, VP R&D, directs our development lab in Colorado. Jake Capella, lead engineer, holds degrees in math, physics, engineering. He's our resident whiz kid, developing the hardware and software. Andrew Dahl has served in various executive and consulting roles in biotech and medtech since 2003. Trevor Mason, not pictured here, has just joined us as CFO. We're actively recruiting C-level management pending available funding. That's the end of my story. Thanks for your time. Happy to take questions.
Great presentation, Andrew. If you have questions in the audience, please put it in the chat box. My first question is how is your diagnostics different from others that are on the market?
Probably, I'll characterize it two different ways. One is we're not developing de novo tests. We're taking existing chemistry that's being run in labs. Obviously, we cherry pick the high reimbursement ones, and we pull them out of the lab and the big equipment that's in a lab, and we put it in a very convenient, easy to use test cartridge that can be administered anywhere. So that's one level of it. The other one is just the level of performance that we're able to get at home or not in a lab setting. 1/3 of 1 part per trillion or 0.3 picomolar is pretty impressive for something that grandma can do.
Great. And Rajiv, what's your first question?
I'm also wondering, sort of same as you all, what is it that, you rely in your business model on the large corporates for pretty much everything, right? From contract manufacturing to go to market to so on. And but what is it that you're bringing to them that they could not do by themselves already? That part is not very clear from the presentation.
Yeah. So at the very heart of this is a proprietary biosensor. So this biosensor really answers a lot of limitations that have sort of bedeviled biomems and lab on a chip devices for the last 20 years. So, you know, most of these chips are custom designed for the 3 or 4 targets that they're able to detect. Oh, you want to change one of those targets, you have to redesign the chip. So you end up with very low manufacturing yields, high prices, and the like. So Michael Puja, when he invented this, said, wait a minute, what are we doing? Let's create a universal biosensor that can accept thousands of different assays, convert them to our platform, and we can apply up to 10 different ones multiplexed on this sensor. So this is inside every test cartridge. And that's really technically what makes this possible.
So why not just sell the patents that you have around this, I presume, right? I guess
Why not?
what is the business value that you're taking to the corporates?
What is the business value?
So you're creating small prototypes for demonstration to the corporates on what can be done.
Yes.
And these corporates have the technical know-how to understand and appreciate what this biosensor can do, right?
Right. We've already talked to, for an example, Siemens and Becton Dickinson and a few others. And basically, this is what they've requested, is that demonstration.
Okay, sounds good.
So how is your diagnostics different from the point of view of data analysis and interactive capabilities? What's different there?
Well, if you think about most of the at-home diagnostics, or quite frankly, a lot of the mail-in or walk-in diagnostics, it's not an all-digital workflow. There's a capture, they'll process it in a lab, and then it's manually input, or there's a lot of steps that have nothing to do with the diagnostic itself. And what we've done is we've integrated it from capturing the patient's specimen, whether that's urine or saliva, all the way through to an electronic medical record. And then extracting from that pertinent data that we can use to either do meta-analysis of large batches of results, or that we use to enrich the user experience for at-home testing.
Great. The question from the audience, and this will be our final, then we'll move on, is can this be used for patient home use to monitor their own disease and alter self-medication?
Absolutely. One of the projects that we're proposing is to monitor recurrent myocardial infarction. So you're home from your first heart attack, and you have your cardiologist follow-up set up 2 weeks later. The idea is that that the patient does a urine test 4 or 5 days after they get home. If the heart tissue is healing, you can push off the cardiologist visit a couple weeks. If it's remaining the same, the schedule remains the same. If the tissue continues to deteriorate, they go to emergency. So that's an example of a remote patient monitoring.
Okay, great. We're at the end of our time. Thanks for a great presentation. Thank you guys for great questions. And with that, we'll move to our final presenter, Al Paz of TSP Therapeutics. Al, if you can launch your slides and kick off when ready.
Hello, my name is Al Paz, and I am the Chief Executive and co-founder of TSP Therapeutics. Over my extensive career in the pharmaceutical industry, I have rebranded, relaunched, and repurposed about half a dozen pharmaceutical products that became leaders in their therapeutic category. Well, I am here this afternoon to share with you how I am about to do this again at TSP Therapeutics and save the lives of millions of cancer patients that stop responding to immunotherapy with an immunostimulant, fabulous one, that was launched in 2008 but never commercialized. So it was approved but never commercialized in Europe. And this product basically works by knocking out immunosuppressive cells and boosting the efficacy of immunotherapies. Let me show you our latest results from cell line xenographic studies. When you add our immunostimulant to interleukin-2, we almost eradicate lymphoma cells. And when you add our product to checkpoint inhibitors, namely PD-1, PD-L1 inhibitors, we eradicate cancer cells from the animals. If we can confirm these results in human studies, proof of concept trials, we will be able to compete very successfully in the immunotherapy market, which is the single largest pharmaceutical market with very high sales and very high unmet needs. If we just focus on the green dot, the $75 billion worth of checkpoint inhibitors that are sold, we will be able to have a very nice piece of business and turn the immunotherapy market on its head. So here's the next exciting news for early investors. They're not going to have to wait, or you will not have to wait 10 years or spend $2 billion for the product to come to market. We do not need any clinical studies to start selling the subcutaneous formulation of our product for acute myeloid leukemia outside of the United States. And AML is a very bad disease that has, with a very high mortality, and we can generate an annual recurring revenues of $8 to $15 million ex-US without having to do any new clinical work. To accomplish this goal, we are raising $5 million in a seed round. Our preference is to sell stock subscriptions, but we also have a convertible note available for investors. So $5 million to start generating $5 to $15 million a year within 2 years. But this is only the beginning of TSP. Our real plan is to exit as a unicorn within 5 years of funding. And we can assume we can get to that without having to raise any more money, because A, we are not going to need any phase 3 registration trials to reach that exit, and 2, we're going to use the sales of our products in acute myeloid leukemia to develop an oral formulation that will make it much easier for patients to take the product, and then to conduct proof of concept trials that will demonstrate that we can boost the efficacy of immunotherapy in patients that have stopped responding. And of course, all our activities will be protected by a robust IP plan that is best in class, that includes method of use patents as well as the drug dose product patents. TSP was founded by Jeff Miller and I. Jeff and I have worked together for more than 20 years, and together have rebranded, relaunched, and repurposed 2 different pharmaceutical products that reach billion-dollar potentials. And we have the experience, the drive, and determination to lead our team of external experts that we have carefully selected to help us get to our first valuation inflection point. As the revenues begin to come in, our plan is to shore up our internal team with an A+ team of people that we have worked with together in the past that will provide internal and management supervision of our external experts. So Jeff and I would like to invite all of you to join us in our mission to save the lives of cancer patients that have stopped responding to immunotherapy by knocking out immunosuppressive cells, boosting the efficacy of cancer immunotherapies, and build a great company. And with that, I thank you for your attention, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Great presentation. Now, my first question is, can you discuss the European component to it? What has been approved? What can be used for? And then talk about what would trigger the next inflection point.
So the product was approved in 2008 for the prevention of relapse of acute myeloid leukemia. This is a horrible disease with over 50% relapse in patients that succeed in chemotherapy. And if you relapse, you have an 80% chance of dying. So that's the indication that we can tackle. There are 20,000 new patients every year. If we just capture 250 of them, we can generate $8 million in sales and create a valuation for our company in the range of $60 million. And then, of course, we can go after other countries, ex-US, that have reciprocity with the European Union and double our sales by going after those countries. And then eventually we'll come into the United States as part of our strategy for unicorn exit. And all we plan to do there is have an IND with breakthrough designation and accelerated approval.
Right. Great. And Rajiv, what's your first question?
No questions from me for now. I'm still processing this. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. And can you tell us more about the efficacy of it? What was found in the 2008 approval? What was efficacious about it?
Well, the exciting part is that in younger patients that are currently not treated that aggressively, we double the probability of a lifetime free of leukemia with a very good side effect profile. So what that would, and this is in patients that have completed not just induction chemotherapy, but consolidation. So by doubling the probability of a lifetime of leukemia, of the lifetime free of leukemia, we basically match the efficacy of stem cell transplants, which are more expensive and way more problematic.
Great. And then what triggers the second milestone payment or liquidity event? What exactly do you have to accomplish to get to that point?
Well, so as early investors, we can decide to roll the dice on just the use of the product, the subcutaneous formulation. But if we wait 2 years longer, we can have an oral formulation that will make it easier for patients to take. And you will also be able to benefit from the proof of concept trials that we will be doing in patients that stop responding to Keytruda and Opdivo. So early exit at $60 million, a unicorn exit at 4 to 5 years.
And who would be an example acquirer at that early exit?
So our thinking is that companies that are focusing, that are in the hematology space would be very attractive, would be attracted to us. One that immediately comes to mind, is AbbVie. Another one would be BMS. But there are a number of companies in that space right now.
Okay, great. And how much money do you need to get to the first inflection point then?
$5 million.
Okay.
And all we need that money to do is to file a centralized ANDA, shape the market to raise awareness of our great technology, because no one has heard of it in the last, 10, 20 years, and run operations. And then, of course, our intent is to find a partner to be the boots on the ground for us. But the
Okay.
AML community is so small that getting to the key opinion leaders will enable us to, to get to where we want to be in terms of awareness and interest.
Okay. I think we're at the end of our questions at this point. If there's any others, please let me know. I want to thank all of our presenters today for a great presentation. We'll get ready for breakout rooms now. Those in the audience, you're welcome to go talk to people here. You've also voted on the Zoom. We'll send you information, make introductions where requested. But let's go and move into breakout. And with that, I'll pass it over to Kat. Basically, I think if you guys are ready, just hit the join button and you go into the breakout rooms. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Great presentations all around, and we'll see you guys in the rooms.